One night, in the tavern where Jack used to go to drink and play cards late into the night, he was totally drunk, and with the courage that alcohol gives, he shouted defiantly to anyone who wanted to hear him. There is no one smarter than me, or capable or surpassing me in intelligence and cunning. No one of the present paid attention to Jack boasting. Annoyed and furious, Jack was not going to allow them to ignore him, so he yelled again, full of pride. I challenge the devil himself to show me if he is smarter than me. The activity of the entire tavern was paralyzed. There was no laughter, no jokes, and in fact nothing was heard. The villagers barely allowed themselves to breathe. Jack had openly challenged the devil, and those present looked at Jack with terror. Little by little, the bustle began to grow, although the atmosphere was gloomy without joy. There were only muffled whispers and furtive glances. Jack became ever more enraged, leaping to his feet, knocking over the chair he had been using, and with a furious punch, he pushed the table out of his way, spilling everything on the floor and glaring at his neighbors. Stepped out of the room. In front of the tavern, Jack saw a sinister gentleman dressed completely in black and white brimmed hat, covering his face. But the stranger eyes gleamed evil in the dark and stared at him. Fear seized Jack. That guy was terrifying, but he was not easily intimidated, and with a braver gesture, he turned to the stranger and faced him. What do you want? He asked haughtily. The stranger didn't answer him, but the brightness in his eyes was more intense and colder. Jack struggled and with a dismissive gesture turned around and headed home. At first, Jack was as confident and proud as ever, but the feeling of being followed by someone was accentuated with each step he took. He began to look back uneasily, but couldn't see anything, although the feeling was already overwhelming. From time to time he saw the shadow of the masked man getting closer and closer. Jack accelerated his pace and had the impression of hearing the footsteps of his pursuit getting closer and closer, and terror was seizing him. Never had the road to home seemed too long, and when we finally got home, Jack was completely terrified. He quickly bolted the door and ran to check one by one all the windows. Every time he checked a window, he could see the stranger standing in front of the house, waiting, waiting for you. Then Jack waited to see what happened. Tension and fear grew in him, but nothing happened. Every 3 minutes, he would look out the window, and each time the stranger was still there, standing, waiting. Jack was desperate and gathering up with courage he had left. He dared to go out and faced the stranger again. Who are you? And what do you want from me? Jack snapped and scared. The stranger was staring at him with those creepy eyes, and Jack thought he saw how the man's mouth had twisted into a cruel smile. I am the devil, and I am here because you challenged me. It was come to my ears that you considered you smarter than me. His voice sounded sinister and deep. Although scared to death, Jack smiled at the stranger and took his arm, inviting him to return to the tavern together and for their last drinks. The devil accepted. For us, both were talking, drinking, and playing animatedly in a stranger contest of wits. The evening passed like a party between two friends. During all this time, Jack could not stop thinking about how to head out, out of it. Although he could not find the way. Unavoidably, very close to dawn, the devil told Jack that he was going to take him to hell where he would purge his sins and pay for his pride. Jack knew his time has come, yet he was undaunted and invited to the devil to the last round. The devil, who had been having such a good time to score and saw no reason to refuse. When it came time to pay, Jack claiming to have run out of the money, which caused numerous jokes and ridicule among them. A moment that Jack used to challenge the devil again. Come on, partner, show me your powers to see what you are capable of. Why don't you become something small, a coin, for example? The devil, quite drunk and stung of his pride, used all his paraphernalia and transformed himself into a coin. At which point, Jack cunningly took the opportunity to take the coin and quickly put it on his pocket, where he had previously kept a silver crucifix. The devil, trapped in the cross, could do nothing to free himself, so he had no choice but to make a deal with Jack. Jack freed, Jack freed him, and in return, the devil could not appear before him for a year. So a year later, the devil showed up in the on time for his date. This year, will be no drunkenness, no jokes, no laughter. This time he was not going to load the Jack to tease to him again. This time Jack made a wish before he died. As is well known, the last wishes of those who are going to die had to be granted. So the devil granted it again. Although this time he put some condition. He was not going to let Jack use some trick to delay his entry into hell again. I want the last trooper. I don't want anything exotic. I've been taking care of that apple tree all year, and no one of them, the one you see in the top of the tree, he was, she just ripe and he was going to eat tomorrow. I wish I could enjoy it before I die. My wish is that you take it down so I can eat it and then you take me with you. So the devil threw unreasonable wish, just an apple, think it. So without thinking more, he accepted. Namely, he climbed the tree and began looking for the apple that Jack had pointed out. But Jack has deceived him again. Just when the devil had climbed the tree, Jack carved across in the trunk. The devil was furious and humiliated, so that farmer had dared to deceive him twice. Still, he was left with no choice to make a deal with Jack. This time, Jack asked that the devil cat could not appear before here 14 years, but fate would happen to lose his life long before the set time, as he was arrogant, now haughty, vicious, and tricky. It was completely impossible for him to cross the gates of heaven, and therefore he must go to hell. But the devil pact was still in force, and consequently it was impossible for Jack to meet the devil before the 10 years so were up. So he could enter the hell either. Jack stayed into no man's land between the heaven and hell, alone in the dark. Jack begged for help. The mocking devil has been waiting all this time for his revenge, and this was his chance. He denied the entrance the hall after a great time, but as a mockery. He threw an ember that could not stop the fire of the hell to fight his way. Jack emptied a pit and placed the ember inside it as a lantern. He began to wander eternally, belonging nowhere, in search of a place to find no rest. Since then, Jack O Latern, as he began to be called, has been seen numerous times during Halloween night, accompanying those who dared to go out of that night, and offering his companions a trick or a treat.